Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
Sometimes you've got to go the extra mile for your art, and if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals and pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and conversational fashion. And you know, if you like how we do things around here, and I'm assuming you do, you're listening to us right now, you can subscribe to the podcast. You can find us over at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google. It's all good. And plus, we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, that would be fantastic. Also, you can find us on social media. You can find us at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at either In the Seats or at It's Podcast One for all sorts of updates. And also, you can find us on TikTok. Just for the hell of it, for a little bit of fun. That's what the kids are doing, so we try to stay fresh around here. But finally, and I do dare say most importantly, I say it a lot, but I mean it, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, film festivals, video on demand, basically the moving image at large. Because that's what we love to talk about and write about, and we love it when you come and read about it. So please stop on by. On this particular episode, we got another good one. We're talking with Mr. Saul Williams, who is the star of the new film Akilla's Escape, which is on video on demand platforms. Now, if you haven't checked it out, I do recommend you do exactly that, because it's a fantastic film. And we talk with Saul just about his leading man performance in the film, but also he does double duty. He does the score of the film as well, and he is such a unique and multifaceted performance artist in so many avenues that we talked about, not just this film, but working with Charles Officer, who's the director, and other stuff he's got on the go, and sort of being a multidisciplined artist in this day and age, which is, at least to me, a very interesting thing. But, you know, at first, I think you should check out Akilla's Escape. But maybe even before that, check out our talk with Saul Williams, because he is a really fascinating guy, and I think we had a great talk. So I hope you enjoy it. All right, well, I'll hit the reset button, but just obviously thanks for the time today. I absolutely love the movie. Now, I mean, I guess my first question for you is, like, walk me through the story of you getting involved with this project.
Well, I've known Charles Officer for, I guess, about 20 years. I met him when my first film as an actor, Slam, was at the Toronto Film Festival. And when I met him there, he was already saying, dude, I want to do something with you. And we maintained a friendship over the years. Anytime I was touring and passing through Toronto, we would always spend time, break bread, what have you, as artists, as friends. We've always, been in correspondence with each other. And so cut to just about maybe 2.5 years ago, he reached out and said, I've got it. I've got the project. I've got the project that I want us to do. I'm done writing it. I'm going to send you a script and a proposal. And like that, like, he didn't let me know about his writing process beforehand. I didn't know about Akilla's Escape in the same way that, say, his co-screenwriter Motion knew about it for like 10 years or something. I found out about it maybe 2.5 years ago, when he sent me the script and a proposal for me to play the role of Akilla. And I mean, on one hand, I was excited because it's full circle. You, as an actor and artist, you meet tons of people who say, I want to do something with you or what have you. But, the amount of things that come to fruition are really minimal in those regards. And so for it to come full circle was already exciting. And the proposal he sent me had images and ideas and all this stuff, like a whole storyboard and all this shit. And then I read the script. And what I love about the script is that so much of Charles's heart, which is always in the right place, right? Along with beautiful crafting and storytelling, was embedded in it. So that I found the script to be really subtle, and immediately understood that subtlety, how that subtlety would translate on the screen, and as something really powerful. And so I was very excited, and maybe within, like, I don't know, a week of sending me the script, he said, "By the way, I also want you to score this thing." Which at the time I was kind of hesitant to hear, just because I was kind of in my actor's mind state, and I really wanted to focus on, like, understanding this character, you know. But of course, because of the fact that we're all, well, for myself, working in multiple fields and thinking about different things on different days in different ways, I was also in the process of collaborating in a just simply free way with Robert Del Naja of Massive Attack. And we had just been exchanging ideas online, like sending music back and forth, like, musicians do, and saying, "Yo, you want to put something on top of this? Yo, check out, I did something. I did this. I did," and we were just in the beginning of sharing ideas when I read the script, and Charles let me know he wanted me to score it. And so at some point, rereading the script, I began to sense that, in fact, the music I was in the process of working on already might have had a home in relation to, because the music was already very, like, it already lent itself to cinema. Like, I could feel the cinematic, sort of ambience of the sound, of that Massive Attack sound, and all of that, and so with Robert's approval, I shared an idea or two with Charles, and he lost his shit. He was like, "What?" Like, I was trying to, seduce you into being in the film. You're bringing me Massive Attack, and, and I was just like, "Well, they're labeled a trip hop band, but they do a lot of reflection on dub as well, and I think it's a wonderful fit, and we all connected, and so all these things sort of came together, so that by the time we began shooting, Robert and I had already mapped out like maybe a dozen ideas for the sound of the film.
Wow.
And so I had that too for my character work, in the same way that I had already started creating playlists of, like, a lot of like reggae and ska and dub and all this stuff to like get into the mindset of the music that Akilla might have grown up with, hearing around the house and what have you. I was then able to kind of seamlessly delve into this sound of what became the sound of the film. And so then that led to, we shoot the film, which was just a kind of beautiful experience. We had a few weeks of night shoots, but a beautiful cast and crew, and it was a really, as I imagined it would be, being on set with Charles was always heartwarming, and his sincerity is always so strong. And working with Maya, the cinematographer, and everyone, it was beautiful. Motion, the other screenwriter, was always there every day. It was a beautiful experience. But then I had the rarest experience of coming home from that shoot and being sent edits of my work as an actor that I was then in the position of actually placing music.
Right.
To. So I had to kind of detach myself and make some attempts, and that came together pretty magically. So much so that I think, in a very short time, I sent back an edit with music attached to Charles, and I said, "Check this out." Because sure enough, when you added that type of sound to the scenes, what music brings to cinema.
For sure, anyway, yeah.
When you think of anything from, like, you think of a scene from Jaws without the dun 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 dun, like you take that out, and the tension, isn't felt the same way. And the sort of suspense and tension that was in the sound that Robert and I were working, and how that connected to the film and what it brought out in the film, brought out a layer of depth that I immediately felt this is what this film needs, and this is what I think Charles is going to love. And yeah, it all made it.
That's why that's wild, man, because I've got to imagine it's a bit of a trip because I mean, obviously on one end you're in actor mode, you're finding the character, you're performing, but once they say cut and you leave the set, it's done. And I mean, especially in
Yeah.
an independent film, you're not necessarily going to get a retake.
Yeah.
But here you're scoring sort of the scenes that you were in, and you almost had a chance to really add an extra layer to it, like you were saying, to really bring out the performance even more. And I'm kind of curious, how, from your perspective, did the music affect your performance, and kind of vice versa? How did you think your performance affected the music?
Well, I think it's easy to answer how the music affected my performance because I have that interior world with music ongoing in my head, and it it plays into body language and tonality and voice and everything, like that's there. And there was also a lot of music present on set, right? The other way around is I guess more difficult to articulate. How did the music affect my performance affect the music? I think in that sense, that has more to do with the editing choices that were made, which were brilliant, and a sort of intuitive kind of magicality in how it came together, because it could have clashed.
For sure.
There's certain times where I just pressed play on an idea over a scene, and it was like, and the shots would change and what have you, and so would the music, and I was like, what the fuck? Like it some of it was playing along to it and crafting it, and in other ways, in other moments, it was kind of magic. That the main difference is that when I was crafting the score, even though some of these ideas I had placed words on, my initial gut feeling was to only deal with the instrumentals, because I thought the meta experience of having my voice in the music and as the character Akilla was too much for me. And so that's how I presented it to him. And then he went back and said, yeah, but in this one, I want to use this part of the vocal. I want to use the vocal here. And that was something I couldn't do.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't have the ability to do that, to be like, yeah, and you hear me singing this, and then like I was really focused on the music, on the sound of the music, on the emotional depth of the music, and where that might take us, without the words attached. But he reattached some of the words, some of them, minimally.
Now, I'm curious from your perspective, because I mean, obviously, especially we're getting more and more people who have been in popular music, who have worked with people like Rage or KRS-One, or people you've collaborated with, or Massive Attack in the past, are starting to sort of make that transition into making music for film. And I'm kind of curious, from your perspective as a musician, what is it about making music for film that is so appealing? Because we're getting so many more popular artists sort of getting into that sort of
Well, yeah, look
element
at
of
Trent
things.
Reznor, look at Trenton Atticus, for
Exactly.
example, and it's extraordinary to see the sort of transition that Trenton Atticus have made into scoring films. And I think it also has a lot to do with the fact that, you spend 20, 25 years on the road
Right.
as a touring musician. As artists, we aim to challenge ourselves into, new experiences and new modes of expression. And so I think, for example, for Trenton Atticus to have the, opportunity to attach sound to a film like Soul,
Yeah.
which is so like not Nine Inch Nails, right? uh, it's I think it allows them to express a side of themselves that's always there, but isn't always celebrated. And for the artist, I think it's a great reward to be able to delve into that and to explore more and more of yourself and share more of yourself. And I've also, the same time that I was acting and scoring Akilla, I was finishing the script for my first feature, which I co-directed with Anizio Uziman, Neptune Frost, which is a sci-fi musical that we shot in Rwanda right before the pandemic hit, and we spent the entirety of the pandemic in the editing room, and it was just announced today, in fact, that we've been selected for Cannes to premiere at Cannes.
Oh, fantastic!
As part of the Quinzaine de Réalisateur, the Director's Fortnight selection. And so yeah, our film Neptune Frost, which is a musical, is premiering at Cannes this summer. And as an artist, it's been 7 years that I've been transitioning into wanting to attach music to images and storytelling. For example, with Neptune Frost, I began thinking of this project as a musical, as a graphic novel and a musical. And I've been crafting a world sort of like in a George Lucas, Joseph Campbell mode. I mean, it's our film is the origin story of a hero, of an anti-hero.
I love it, man. You're getting me excited.
You know, and also it's been 7 years that I've been putting together the music for this story, and then shooting it, and then spending the entirety of the pandemic looking at this footage and editing and going, holy fuck, it worked. It worked. I think, in answer to your question, you know, a lot of artists go there, one, because it's a dream. Like in my case, for example, my first love is theater.
Yeah.
And within theater, the most impactful theatrical experiences I've had have been musicals. You know, so that for me as a 13-year-old kid watching Serafina on Broadway, where the entire cast and crew are exiled from South Africa during the apartheid regime because of the stuff they're saying in the play. And so that because of what they're saying on stage and their choice to go there on stage, they can't go home, right? They can't go back to their families. I'm seeing the direct connection between you know, the choices you make as an artist, its relationship to politics and its relationship to music and storytelling, and what that can do to an audience, right?
Yeah.
While simultaneously, you know, leaving the theater as a kid and blasting Public Enemy and feeling its direct relationship to what I'm seeing in the streets of New York, and feeling, you know, through the presence of the police and the racism in the schools and all this type of shit. It's all there. And you think of, you know, something like Do the Right Thing and, you know, all these things where music, film has a presence. For me, it's always been a magical connection, the connection between film and music. Even like, you know, one of my favorite films of all times is Jesus Christ Superstar.
Nice.
You know, which is the second piece that Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice did when they were like 23 years old. And their whole idea was like, you know, we want to tell the story of Jesus from the perspective of Judas, yo.
Yeah.
You know, just some real like young, like rebellious shit, like from the story of Judas. But it's 1969, it's 1970. And what's being born then is that Zeppelin-esque rock sound in England. And Jesus Christ Superstar is innovative in that it's a fucking rock musical right when that style of rock is being formed. And it's in conversation with what's happening on the radio. And it's not, you know, some, you know, like a lot of modern day musicals bend to the idea of the Broadway sound and try to sound like they conform in order to fit into their idea of the musical genre, right?
Yeah, it's trying to sound like a show tune.
Yeah, try to sound like a show tune, which I don't believe is necessary, and which is like certainly not what I did with Neptune Frost, and certainly is not what is done in I mean, I don't think it's really done in Jesus Christ Superstar, but there's tons of musicals that I love or that I think explore, you know, like what happens if you don't conform? What happens if you innovate? You know, like where are the 808s? Where's the fucking bass that I hear in a club? Why can't I hear that in a movie theater? If we have this fucking sound system that George Lucas helped fucking create, why can't we fucking use it? I want to feel the bass rattle the fucking ground, yo. You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't we go there? We've, you know, and so there are, because it's not just musicians going that way. I think of like Steve McQueen going there with Lovers Rock,
Right.
and as a director going deep into the music, and bringing that to film. So it's not only musicians going to film, but it's filmmakers going to music. It's a dialogue. It's a dialogue. And I think with Akila's Escape, that dialogue that Robert Del Naja, myself, and Charles were able to have with the sound of that film, it means something. It definitely means something and brings something to the film. It's, that beautiful cinematography, that beautiful story is enriched by that sort of attention, and a great score can do that. And it's just it's a beautiful sort of interaction that occurs between music and storytelling.
Well, and I mean, it's such a reminder too. I mean, not only with Aquila, but with everything that you just mentioned, sort of the need to push boundaries and the need to sort of not be afraid to put it out there. And I mean, we live in such an interesting time because I mean, I don't think this could have been made 20 years ago, but given sort of the avenues there are now for people to watch basically anything they want, there's avenues for this one way or another, and it's really sort of an interesting time. And I'm kind of curious from your perspective as an artist, how do you sort of keep pushing forward or keep trying to keep yourself engaged and do interesting things? Is it just a question of putting it out there and see what happens?
Well, on one hand, I feel like I have no choice, like David Bowie would talk about how a great song should introduce a new idea every like 4 to 8 measures.
Yeah.
And I think that may be true for careers as well. Is that a great career should introduce new ideas every 4 to 8 years, like it's important. It's important to put yourself, it's important to not be contained or constrained by the public perception of you and to build that out. For me, I kind of realized, because I had, multiple interests as an artist from the start when the door opened for me, that I wanted to build that out, the sort of thing that would give me the opportunity to explore different lanes, so that as soon as, Slam, found distribution, I, it was not long after that I was able to sign my first book deal and my first record deal. And I was like, I want to explore, like, shit, if we're gonna do this art shit, let's do this art shit. Like, if we're gonna go there, let's go there. Let's see what's possible, and then it was always a matter of I guess tempering the ego and saying, it's not about wanting to like rule the world or the charts, but realizing what art brings to the process of self-exploration, and so that brings me back to your question, is that because we are, always students of our nature, of ourselves, of humanity, and for those of us who express ourselves through art, there's certain things that we don't learn about ourselves until we give ourselves or accept the challenges to trying to kind of explore and articulate these things. And so facing a new challenge is sometimes crucial, and it doesn't have to be extreme. It's like when a poet decides to write a novel, or when a novelist decides to dive into poetry, or when a painter who works in one form, explores working in another form. All of these things are valid. And I mean, even someone like Steve McQueen, who we're talking about, and Charles, both have backgrounds in visual arts.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so that even the fact that we know these people as filmmakers, they know themselves as something else beforehand.
For sure. And you know what? I mean, and when artists have a real true sense of self, it shows in the work and it helps the work rise to the top. And I mean, I think that's something true. That's true here in Akilla. And just thanks for the time today, man. This was a lot of fun. And congratulations again on Con, man. I can't wait to see the movie.
Thank you.
Really, I'm really happy for you. That's great news.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks again, man.
All right. Take care.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.